Hello, welcome to Ideas with Diana. Hello, welcome to Ideas with Diana. It's been quite a while since we had our actual live weekly broadcast, and part of the reason is that in the Wisconsin area, libraries, universities are still closed. Even the University of Wisconsin is still deciding how to open up for the fall. Um, 2 weeks ago, we had the reopening when a lot of local restrictions were dropped. However, when you go to Wendy's, McDonald's, Burger King, Hardee's, there's actually only one Wendy's in this area where you can eat in the dining room, all the other ones you can't. Same with McDonald's, same with Burger King, Taco Bell. It's all drive up. And Denny's is open fully in this area. And they all still are offering drive order free order delivery and that, which helps a lot of seniors and a lot of people who are disabled. The thing is, though, um, I'm still very concerned about the progress that they're making on this virus. I mean, when a friend and I, who takes me shopping, we go out and we see a lot of people with these masks on, and it's like, like this, you know, um, what many people internationally may not understand, especially those in China or other nations that sometimes experience some greater levels of the society of how people live. Um, Prior to March 12th, if you walked in a grocery store or food store or Walmart just wearing a mask like this, you were not allowed. You were not, because that was a security concern, because people thought, well, that's someone trying to rob the store or something else, or now the virus that basically is common, and even many people like me basically trying to wear the mask like this. I have a heart condition, I have a breathing condition, and especially on hot days, it makes it very hard. And other people as well. And the thing is, there are a lot of hustlers selling these masks you see on the streets like this. 5 dollars for a mask or other things, and there's some valid companies that are doing their best to make that. But really, should we have to live in the 19th century steampunk world where we have to go along like this because government, social service, public health has been overwhelmed because of a lack of quality control in China? I mean, just to give an example of some of the concerns, this is from National Review, saying that it was a mistake to build up China. You see a lot of soldiers there in well couture suits, shiny white gloves, medals, everything pressed and clean like the old 19th century British Empire. However, we all have to walk around with masks. I mean, and and for many of us, it's quite a thing. And even when you look at Bloomberg, um, and of course, corporate communists in China are going to say, "Oh, well, you Americans just care about money," and they think, well, I'll just give an example, give a visual aid here. Just a minute. Let me get something here. So the corporate communists, many of them think we only care about this, or to some of them, we only care about this coin. Not really. Those of us who live in Wisconsin and other parts of the U.S., we learned from our mistakes in the 1950s and even 1960s about basically it's not always about making a buck. It's about quality, and quality is free, and also helping your fellow human being. That's why in the 60s we passed civil rights, we passed Medicare, and in the 70s, even during the Watergate crisis, we took a long look at ourselves. And even now we're doing that. What happened in the Watergate issue of the 70s is the solution to that was Breakfast in America, as exemplified by the Supertramp song, Logical Song. and even by ELL song, and with a massive group in Hyde Park, um, 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 Mr. Sunday, and many of us are. And so basically, even though the corporate Chinese C-suite people who make policy and claim that basically if you drop a piece of toast on the floor or drop some sort of food product on the floor, it's okay to repackage it and send it over because their people are going to be eating it, and if someone else gets sick, it's not no longer their problem. Sorry, no. Even in the 19 early 19th century in Chicago, when we had meat packers in Chicago, even people then realized that you have to have quality food processing facilities. You just can't hope that no one's watching and try to pass off a bad piece of fish, bad piece of meat. Sorry, guys. We knew about this in the 19th century. Surprised you guys in China don't know about this now. And as a former medical researcher, I listened to last night the news due to what's been going on with the COVID-19. I actually listened to the news at 9 o'clock rather than 6 o'clock because many of us in the U.S. Have been very shocked by this, and we've gone back to watching TV episodes of MASH, episodes of Andy Griffith. To some sophisticated people worldwide, it's like, well, you people in Wisconsin are a bunch of farmers, and you're out of touch. No, we're not out of touch. We just don't like to live in super high price condos of $2,500 a month, and people put on it like battery ends. And we prefer having clean air, fresh countryside. I live in a country suburb, and also we prefer to have a nice population density where not everyone is like this. You go to a coffee shop or something else, and Evanston may think that, building condo to condo and calling like 20 foot by 20 foot by 20 foot square park is great. In Wisconsin, I'm sorry, that's not a park. That doesn't even come close. And many of us in Wisconsin, even though we live in the city, we still had family members who came from the farm. And when we go out to West Osha or something, we sometimes take the silos just to see how the farms are doing, and we don't mind the natural fertilizer. It's so regulating to let us know that people can still farm that way and not have to do other things. But the thing is, though, with what I saw in the news on the NewsHour, first thing, I'd like to go to the BBC report that I saw at 10:30 last night on Milwaukee PBS 36.2. It showed an example of someone, a son of a prominent Communist Party official. Notice I didn't say corporate communist; I said Communist Party. And there's a reason why I say that, because the corporate Communist Party, all they care about, I think, is this. The good foreign suits, cufflinks, and their fancy sports cars that cost over $200,000. Well, the Communist Party officials still believe in trying to help not believing this, but helping the people. However, the one Communist Party official in Wuhan, with the Sunday interview last night, the corporate Communist Party people wonder. He had to give his life to defend the political party, because of lack of quality control. When his son was being talked to by the BBC media, policeman came with the mask, go, no, stop interview, you don't want to have this. Well, I live in a republic that has a freedom of press. The UK has a republic that has the freedom of press. That's one of the four freedoms. And if we were going to solve this, we need to have a freedom of press. When I saw this thing about where the local Communist Party official stopped the interview with the son of the Communist Party, of a senior Communist Party official who died early during this crisis, because his son the son expressed concern about what his dad tried to do, and concerned about that he had to take the virus to keep face with the corporate Communist Party, and then the local police would go, no, 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 no. Well, it reminds me of a thing a friend of mine showed me one time. Even like in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, there's a picture of Joan Jett doing this. And a friend of mine explained to me why she did it. Because she knew living in the United States, she could still do this, live, and not be sent away or have a communist official or someone knock on the door. She still had freedom to do this. And, in the United States, we also do the one finger salute too. Many Vietnam veterans, they did that when they were captured by communists, and told them, said, well, they said, well, smile, tell people at home. So they smiled like this, but they held up the finger, and everyone at home knew that, that was a sham. There's a media, just like the state media thing about, oh, this came from our studies of getting bats. Of course, yes. Or the local tradesman who was interviewed in Wuhan by the BBC said, when they asked him about the bats, he said, oh, that's not part of our culture. Of course not. You were coached to say that. Most people would say that's not part of our culture. That's someone you expect to hear from a university student who's a sophomore or junior that has taken sociology, not from a lifetime tradesman who works in a fish market. So, to the corporate Chinese government, well, you think you can scare people and coach people to say the party line. Even though I wasn't raised in New York, I wasn't raised in Philly. I was raised in Wisconsin. Even though I was born in Pennsylvania. I'm wise enough to realize when someone's trying to do a snow job. And that was really, boy, that took all to do that. The Chinese state media and even trying to coach the local people to sort of tell them what to say and what to think. Makes you think of dystopian science fiction. And the thing is, I do hope basically, the BBC and our news agencies can go in China, but, something just to think of if anyone from China is watching this. We understand in the States that, you guys don't have full freedom to speak out or even speak to the press. What we used to do during the 70s when someone was giving an interview and they're giving like a snow job or whitewash, when we were in camera range, we used to do this and walk by, just turn our head away like this so as not to get caught on camera. But people watching on TV would know that basically from people walking by and giving this, and that basically is a snow job. It was fake news, fake media, whatever you want to call it. A second thing I saw regarding the COVID-19 thing is about the epidemiologist in India, who's head of the World Epidemiological Society, and he talked about the two umbrellas, the private service health umbrella in India and the public service health, and how the two of them like this, fighting, having an umbrella fight. So basically, if one person was tested in this umbrella and that their resources were full and they went over to this umbrella, they wouldn't accept the test, and there was actually a case of someone who died, who went through multiple hospitals, and they finally didn't realize that the person was sick until they collapsed in line, and they died. And the family tweeted and everything else, and there's still, you think in a crisis, instead of these two umbrellas fighting, that they'd go like this and form a big umbrella to protect their own country people and their own citizens in India. I don't know, but so it shows basically what happened in China still has the same thing in India. I mean, guys, bang the rocks together, put your brains in motion, get your brains out of park, put it in drive, and think. You can't use media or intimidation to tell a virus to go away. Viruses don't watch TV. Viruses don't watch internet. You can't send a virus to a re-education camp or make them impoverished or something else. It takes science, and it takes open science as well as a free press to know exactly what does work and what doesn't work. No, and the thing is, though, it's sort of really discouraging for me because I worked at most of my career worked from the early '80s all the way up to the early 2000s. And my first baptism in crisis was the AIDS crisis and the first Gulf War. In the AIDS crisis, we had this AIDS virus. Now it's called HIV, and now it's gone to HIV 1, 2, and 3. However, at that time, we had a microscope, we had test tube where we still were doing peptide synthesis by test tube. Put one peptide in, and then what happens? You add it. You put a component at the other end of the peptide, NO3 to join in, and then when you're done, you put a sulfate component to put the termination, so you make something similar to a 5 to 3 sequence of DNA. And we use that, and then we had automated peptide machines where we can make peptides about 20 peptide lengths. Now we can make peptides of up to 1,000, but not at that time we're starting to use advanced 68,000 processors for medical equipment that would also work on naval ships. So we had a combined computer system for medical and using flow cytometers. Like I worked on a BD, FactStar Plus, FactScan, a few others. Also, I saw other flow cytometers made in Germany at that time, and Coulter, and but even then, considering between manual, semi-automated, once the Pasteur Institute and Gallo simultaneously discovered the peptide sequence for the AIDS virus, because when you look at a virus, it actually is like this coin press. It actually is like a glob, and you have like a little pocket like this where basically something molecule can activate it, but this is like the head that binds into the cell that causes the cell to become an agent for the virus. But even then, we were able to develop a blood antibody test. We were able to develop ACT, the first generation of AIDS drugs. It wasn't a complete cure. It helped, but it's still. But what made the AIDS crisis bad was the gaming of the system, because basically we had some public officials saying, "Oh, this is God's will. These people got this because they didn't follow God," even in the medical practice, we had some doctors that said that too. And it took a lot of people to say, "No, this is not God's will. This is a natural treatable disease, just like how polio is a natural treatable disease. It's not. You don't have to punt and give up." And so once we got past that gaming phase, then we were able to develop other classes of drugs which go into the PrEP series, which you will see on American TV. You see this quite a bit, I'm sure, basically on Canadian and UK and EU TV too, because there are many people that are LGBT. They're not. That doesn't mean that they're HIV positive, but there's some people that are. But the thing is, it's basically everyone working together. And but the reason I bring this up is because in China, where you have an internet where basically, you can get Google up to a certain point, but you want to go past Google and see some other stuff, and like, no, sorry, we're paternalistic. We're protecting our people. We know what our people should see. And well, basically, a world virus comes about, COVID-19. Okay, well, guys, you sort of lost your leadership trust there, and in the United States, so we are in many places of the world, even though the corporate Chinese didn't think that they didn't plan this, but many people are doing a new breakfast time in their country. Ours is breakfast time in America too, same as the Canadians, EU and English. Basically, this is a new paradigm shift for the United States. It's equivalent to the paradigm shift we went through during the Watergate era and during 2001. And for other countries, it's about the same time when they're going through different crises and how things were done, and the switch over from basically the old post-war mindset to the new postmodern mindset that occurred during the mid-70s. The thing is, though, when the new paradigm shift does occur, it's like this one article says, will China still be invited to the breakfast table of world nations if they don't clean up the act and they don't tell the corporate communist party people that just giving people good suits but basically dangerous world conditions to live in is not enough. Folks, quality is free. Quality is free. Quality is free. It's meaning that to China, you do not have production take care of quality control. Quality control is a separate division. You have the C-suite. You have different divisions: production, quality control, sales, marketing. You don't have quality control down as which is what you guys are doing. And if you still don't understand it, there are many people who are willing to help you outside of China. You can give the Journey Institute a call. You can give the American Society for Quality Control a call, American National Standards Institute, the ISO a call for, and I'm not talking about ISO 9000 standards. I'm talking about, well, and also you can give the UK quality control a call, because part of the issue of Brexit was the issue of the chickens, where the UK wanted to use higher quality control methods to prepare chickens to prevent outbreaks, and the EU still wanted to rely on stuff that was way out of date because other countries in Eastern Europe didn't want to spend the money to update to 21st century techniques. Guys, you guys have the money. You can cough it up. If you can afford basically. In China, if you can afford Italian suits, French cufflinks, Maseratis, Ferraris, you guys have the money. Same thing in India. You guys have the money. Stop making off that shirt or that poor. You can cough it up, and you got to get up to standard. And it's not just a matter for you; it's a matter for the whole world. We are all interconnected, and the thing is, we all need each other. And that just doing sloppy stuff like that just doesn't work. And finally, another news item I saw. This was on the news hour about basically there's a paper that was presented in Nature comparing the COVID-19 virus to asking if it was man-made or not. And according to the paper, Nature, it is not. However, before I really accept that result, I would like to read the paper to review the methodology and the people doing the evaluation, because the biggest part of this COVID-19 virus has been the loss of trust. Because at the beginning of COVID-19 virus, we had the World Health Organization saying one thing with someone who could barely speak English, and basically people thought, they wondered about what the trust was and everything else. And I'm glad the World Health Organization does have a scholar that can speak British English so that he can communicate with more people and also get more results. I know multiple languages, and when I worked in research, I actually was fluent in Dutch, Italian, Spanish, Japanese, Finnish, Swedish, Danish, French, German. I'm not as fluent now because I'm out of practice, and I've had some health issues, which I can understand what's being said, but I have trouble sometimes speaking in different languages as well as I used to. But the thing is, we have modern equipment. I'm surprised we haven't solved this by now. But I do like what the World Health Organization did say, is they did talk about a new drug. It's an analog that was used for something else that is showing promise, and that they are mentioning about when it should be used and how it should be used. So they are stating specific guidelines. So basically, it's not a case of it's being used haphazard, because even the best treatment approach, when used haphazardly, can have something wrong, because if someone's choking and someone does like this, pats them on the back, pats them on the back, they can actually lodge a piece of food deeper and cause the choking to become worse. Then that's an example of using something haphazardly. Or like basically if you get in a case where you have one person has a test result for a virus like they did in India, but then the other hospital won't accept the test result because of NIH not done here, or NDH not done here. Again, that's a misapplication of a medical procedure. The thing is, though, I'm still waiting to see basically in my area when Barnes & Noble Cafe will be fully open. I can go in and get a latte and meet with friends, and also McDonald's, and and the thing is, people say, well, it's not, you're just concerned about wanting a cup of coffee, just sitting and be noticed. No, people that go to the cafe and the Barnes & Noble, they're not there to be noticed. They're there to talk about ideas. When you go in there, when I go on a Sunday afternoon, you hear people talking about ideas. You hear people talk, and what happens? It's basically a free discussion. And I mean, you see people using computers and see people, but that's why people go out to Wendy's at dining room and Wendy's, because what happens, it's easier for them to meet people to talk about ideas than sometimes it's easier to meet in their own apartments or their own homes. And because they're basically, they don't feel as inhibited. And also what happens, it's a nice environment so you can talk a little bit, eat a little bit, or have a coffee or something. And, but the thing is, it's also an environment where you can have 8 to 10 people meet. You can talk about ideas, and there are many entrepreneurs in this area. And that's how they did it. One thing what the libraries have done, the Kenosha Public Library has expanded the Wi-Fi service to make it that you can pick up Wi-Fi in their parking lot, because they know since the library is closed, there are many people who want to use internet to do things, but they also believe in free internet. So they made it so at least people can go in the parking lot, with cars or bicycles, and listen that way, But the thing is, the corporate Chinese, some people think the corporate Chinese this time went way too far. They endangered the whole world. We realize in other parts of the world that the Chinese people really don't have the representation that their state media tells the world that they do have. So, just a reminder, like what we used to do in the 70s when we saw someone being interviewed by TV and they were blowing smoke or doing this, we walk by and give them, like this, show the finger within camera range. You don't have to show your face, just walk away, just, see it. And what happens, we did quickly, because, back then we still had some people that still were very much trying to keep the old ways, and they didn't want any of this free expression and free ideas to come out. And eventually we learned it's better to talk about stuff and do stuff. And so so the people in China, if you do see this, don't be afraid to just turn your head away, because you're wearing a mask. Your facial recognition software will be defeated. They won't be able to figure out who you are. But at least let the rest of the world know that if someone is a state official and they're being interviewed and we see a finger in the back, we know that they're blowing smoke. Well, let me know what you think. Our website is Ideas with Diana on Twitter, and I'm hoping to do more with Nikita and Ron as soon as we can work out a way where we can all meet together. It's just the problem is Nikita is just getting her computer system reset up after a brief disruption, and Ron doesn't have a computer, so that's why we normally do our things from the Kenosha Public Library or from WIPZ at Parkside. We're hoping we may be able to go back to Parkside, but the big issue at UW is when are they going to open the campus and other things. We still don't know, and even if September, we don't know if it's going to be, a full campus, or is it going to be social distancing? We have to have people like this, and and at Parkside, if they did that, they're going to have to go on classes way late compared to because basically Parkside is almost packed at 5,400 students. So basically, when you add social distancing to 6 feet away, you increase the amount of campus space needed to do this by a factor of 3. So, but what happens, we'll see. But next year, I'm hoping it's going to be better because in this area, many people are very disappointed. The Raiders had to cancel the football season. Lollapalooza in Chicago was canceled. Lower Fair in Chicago was canceled. Summer music festivals in Milwaukee, Summerfest, Pride Fest, Fest Italiana, Polish Fest, German Fest, Indian Summer. All those were canceled because of this. And it's still basically, even many parts in England and Canada, in the EU, there still isn't places where you can have more than 50 people meet at a time. So I'm still hoping, basically, like some of the YouTube videos I watched from ELO, that we'll eventually be able to get back to seeing a rock performance where we have a lot of people in Hyde Park, a lot of people in Grand Park in Chicago, or on the lakefront in Milwaukee. So, well, but just let me know what you think. And to those in China, just to let us in the world know when the officials are blowing smoke, if you see someone being interviewed on camera, well, like this, just walk by. You don't have to do it just like this. We'll see it. And that way we'll know which interviews are really blowing smoke or doing a snow job. In essence, speaking falsely. Well, I'll try to get back with another broadcast next week or maybe sooner. But remember, our website is Ideas with Diana, and I welcome all your viewpoints.